Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the SEU Show. I'm your host, SEU, and keeping up with our coverage of the NFL Draft here in April, we have another great show for you today. It's going to be a short one, though. We only have a few topics. Next week, though, we have a big show where I bring out my full first-round mock draft. And I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think a lot of people will like it. I have a lot of receivers going in the first round of this year's draft, but hey, these teams need receivers. And so there you have it, So let's start this week's show. Let's start with the breaking news that came out last night. This podcast was recorded on a Friday morning. This news came out on a Thursday night. The Houston Texans send a second-round pick, the 53rd overall pick, to the LA Rams, and they get Brandin Cooks. A lot of people don't like this move. I'm not one of those people. I love this move. This is a really nice move here by the Texans, because they just got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, which made no sense to anybody. Still doesn't make any sense to me. I still don't get it. Why would they do that? I mean, he was their one. He was going to be their one for a long, long time. And they get rid of him. They sent him away to Arizona. It didn't make any sense. And for the longest time, when it came to Houston, a lot of things didn't make any sense. Now, things are sort of starting to make sense when it comes to the Texans. Because they still have Deshaun Watson. He's still their quarterback. He's a franchise quarterback. I still think he's gone next year. I think he'll start in New England by 2021. But this year they have Deshaun Watson. He's going to have another great season. He's going to probably the second best quarterback in the AFC behind Patrick Mahomes now. It's surprising to think about that. But yeah, Deshaun Watson, second best quarterback in the AFC now. He also has Randall Cobb, who still has juice left in the tank. There's a reason they signed him. They also have Will Fuller. If he stays healthy, he's a really talented receiver. Kiki Cutie, a really good receiver. Still have Kenny Stills, who they traded for from Miami either last year or the year before. I'm not too sure about that. And now they just got Brandin Cooks, who, again, if he's healthy, is a great receiver. Therefore, Houston is going to run away with the AFC South this year. Again. Now we all know the Jaguars are attempting to fire. We've said that before. They got rid of Calais Campbell. They got rid of AJ Boye. I still believe Nick Foles is a great quarterback. A lot of people don't. And they signed him to an $88 million deal last year just to release him this year. So, the Jaguars are doing something bad. The Titans have made a mistake. I still believe that they signed Ryan Tannehill after he had a okay season to a 4-year deal. That's 4 years of mediocrity coming for the Titans, except for Derrick Henry, who will be there at least one more year. And if he tests the market next year, you're losing a big piece of your run game in Derrick Henry. He had at least 2,000 or 3,000 yard seasons thus far. And then the Colts only have Phillip Rivers on a 1-year deal. T.Y. Hilton's always hurt, and that's all they have is T.Y. Hilton. They do have Darius Leonard on defense, but other than that, a few more pieces here and there with the Colts, but it's not like they're jumping off the page or anything. Houston, like I said, on the other hand, they're sort of jumping off the page here. Deshaun Watson now has 4 receivers he can throw to: Kenny Stills, Brandin Cooks, Kiki Cutie, and Will Fuller if they're all healthy. They had just got David Johnson in a trade for DeAndre Hopkins. You got David Johnson, if he stays healthy. Obviously, with every player, it's a matter of if he's healthy or not. But if David Johnson can stay healthy, that's another one. That's a talented running back they can get going in there. They also have Duke Johnson from the Browns, another talented running back. He's no Derrick Henry, he's Rum CMC, but he could be a talented running back. So really, the Houston, they have their pieces there. It's all working. It's all coming together for the Texans. Now it's just a matter of putting it on the field, making it a successful thing. And I do think they do that. And I do think they win the AFC South once again. I don't think it's really much of a contest going forward for them, at least for this year. All right, now we get back to our draft stuff, because we got some really interesting draft stuff here I wrote down last night. I also wrote down my first mock draft, but this come out next week. There are at least 7 quarterbacks I think that are pretty interesting, or other people think that are pretty interesting. Maybe I don't think they're interesting, but a lot of people do. And I decided to take those quarterbacks and rank them all. And of course, we have start number 1 is Tua. Tua is the most talented quarterback in the draft. There's no question about it. I don't care what anybody says about Joe Burrow. We'll get to him in a moment. Tua is the future of the NFL. It doesn't matter where he goes. Projected to go to Miami. He will probably take over for Ryan Fitzpatrick next year, not this year. This year, Ryan Fitzpatrick will play. He'll win some 5 or 6 games again like he did last year. And then that'll be the end of that for Ryan Fitzpatrick, most likely, as they look forward to Tua, who, again, future of the NFL. And I've said this before on several podcasts. I am a big fan of running quarterbacks, versatile quarterbacks. Quarterbacks can scramble out of the pocket, get first downs with their legs, not just their arms. And Tua is a perfect example of that. He's like a smaller Russell Wilson, sort of. a really nice arm. Obviously can run, very running talent as a quarterback. And that's why I have Tua as the top quarterback in the draft this year. Number 2, we're going Justin Herbert. Yeah. I still haven't said Joe Burrow. We'll get to that in a moment again. I love Justin Herbert. I loved Justin Herbert last year, but he decided to go to stay at Oregon, which, that's fine. You can stay at Oregon, get your numbers up, impress people, whatever you want to do. But now it's time for Justin Herbert to show the league what he is made of. Show everybody what he's really made of, what I thought he was made of last year. I like him. He's a West Coast kid. He knows West Coast offense. I think he's very talented, obviously. He's another running quarterback. Again, wave of the future in the NFL, running quarterbacks. So Justin Herbert, my second-ranked quarterback this year's draft. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. And I know Jalen Hurts lost to Tua. He lost a starting job. Yeah, because Tua's a better quarterback. I don't think anybody can dispute that. But Jalen Hurts also went to Oklahoma and tore it up there, too. He won the Big 12. So he won the national championship, by the way. He won a national championship at Alabama. And then he took Oklahoma to the playoff. And people still don't believe that Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know. I just don't get it. People are something else. That's all I can say about that. Jalen Hurts is a very talented quarterback. He's got a great arm. And another one. He's actually better at running the ball than Justin Herbert is, because obviously he's a smaller guy, kind of like Kyler Murray, who he took over for at Oklahoma. But Jalen Hurts is going to have a very interesting NFL career. We'll get to that in a moment, though. Let's get back to the list. All right, here's what people are going to think I'm crazy. Number 4 is Jake Fromm. Yeah, Jake Fromm beat out not just one, but 2 quarterbacks. He beat out Justin Fields, who was a number 1 quarterback coming out of high school, if I'm not mistaken. And he also beat out Jacob Eason, who started before Fromm did, took over the Bulldogs, and led them to the SEC title game, only to lose to Joe Burrow. Jake Fromm is a very talented quarterback. I did see him going to, I'm not going to say it, but I did see a article where he might go, and I think it's very interesting. But we'll get to that next week on my mock draft. So Jake Fromm, the 4th best quarterback in the draft. Number 5 is the guy who he beat out, Jacob Eason. Eason lost the starting job to Jake Fromm as Justin Fields. Of course, we're not on Justin Fields this year because he's still going to Ohio State for his final season next year before he goes to the 2021 NFL draft. But Jacob Eason is in the 2020 draft, and he has another great talented quarterback. He doesn't run as much as Herbert or Tua or Jalen Hurts, but he has a great arm, and he also did very well in 2 conferences. He did well in the SEC when he was the starting quarterback, and then he went up to Washington and really did well there as well. So, very look forward to see where Jacob Eason lands. Again, we got that next week. Actually, we'll get that today, because we'll be looking at the spots where quarterbacks could land today. So Jacob Eason, number 5, number 6. Then we get to Joe Burrow. See, everybody's so hyped about Joe Burrow. He's obviously going to go number 1 to Cincinnati. I don't think anybody can dispute that at this point. But I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. A lot of people don't think he's an NFL quarterback, and I'm one of them. He had one good season. Before that, he was a third string either backup or third string at Ohio State. Then he went to LSU. He was under Coach Ed Orgeron, which is, I believe, why he had so much success, because Ed Orgeron is a really good coach. I remember when Ed Orgeron was the coach at USC, and then he got fired after being interim and having a successful season and winning a bowl game. I questioned it. I didn't understand why USC did not hire him full-time, and now they're still paying for it. And meanwhile, Coach Ed won a national championship with Joe Burrow as his quarterback. But again, I think much of Joe Burrow's success at LSU goes towards Coach Orgeron, not towards himself, even though he did a great season. So Joe Burrow's the 6th best quarterback in the draft. And the final quarterback that everyone likes to talk about, number 7, is Jordan Love. I don't like Jordan Love. I don't at all. He had 17 picks this season in the Mountain West Conference, which is like the 7th best conference in all of college football. They're not even a top 5 powerhouse college. You get the point. They're not a top 5 powerhouse conference, whatever the case is. So I don't understand the hype around Jordan Love, Joe Burrow. I don't understand the hype about him either. So they have my 7 best quarterback, quote-unquote best quarterbacks in the draft this year. All right, so now we talked about those 7 quarterbacks. Now let's talk about where would these quarterbacks, where would be the best fit for all these quarterbacks? And we've already talked about Tua to the Miami Dolphins. I think nobody can dispute that at this point. Even if the Dolphins have to trade up in the draft to go get Tua, they're going to get Tua. And they will. That's their guy. I think that's their guy. I don't think there's anybody else that really just shines to them. I don't know. They haven't talked much about it from what I've seen, but it's Tua. Let's be real. Tua to Miami is the perfect fit for him. When it comes to Justin Herbert, I think it's the Chargers. I've said it before. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is going to do much for the Chargers, and I think they're just a quarterback away from winning or competing for the Chiefs for the AFC crown. Not even the AFC West. They can win the AFC West as well, but AFC crown. Like, those are the two best teams in the AFC right now. The New England, that Brady's not in the AFC anymore. It's the Chargers and the Chiefs, and the Chargers need a quarterback, and they're ready to go and compete for the AFC crown. So I think Justin Herbert will be a great fit for them in LA. Alright, so here's what I was talking about earlier. I saw an article, Jake Fromm to the Patriots. My shout out to Sam Gordon of Primetime Sports Talk for writing this article. Yeah, they do have Brian Hoyer. They do have Jarrett Stidham, and I'm assuming that they're going to go ahead and take or trade for Deshaun Watson next year, because Deshaun Watson is now unhappy in Houston, and the Vegas odds are that he starts in New England by 2021. So a lot going on there. I would think that after this year, they move off Jarrett Stidham. That was fast, right? That's Bill Belichick for you. And I think they move off of Brian Hoyer, or Brian Hoyer retires, and then they go take a Jake Fromm this year to back up Deshaun Watson, and the Patriots are really interesting again. Here's one. This is interesting. Jacob Eason to the Chiefs. Now, I'm not saying he's going first round, but just imagine the defending champions go get Jacob Eason from Washington. Again, a great arm. Kind of like, not like Mahomes great, but he has a great arm. And I think with the receivers and Travis Kelce down there in Kansas City, I do think Jacob Eason would be a real nice fit to take over Patrick Mahomes. Should Mahomes get injured, knock on wood. Just saying. Joe Burrow to the Bengals, number 1 overall. We all know that. There's no disputing it. It's going to happen. Done deal. That's it. Game over. You get the point. And here's an interesting one. Jordan Love. All right, now, I don't like Jordan Love, and people are projecting him first round, but in my mock draft, he's not first round. Actually, I was going to have him first round to either Houston or Indy, and then I saw neither of them had a first round pick, so I just went with the next best thing. The Texans have the 40th pick in the draft. They did not trade that way for Brandon Cooks. They traded away the second round pick, the 53rd pick to LA for Brandon Cooks. So I think at 40, the Houston Texans go ahead and select Jordan Love from Utah State, because with the whole rumor of Deshaun Watson, if it is true, they're going to look to have Jordan Love start for them in 2021, and Deshaun Watson will be in New England, and then it'll be very interesting to see what Jordan Love can do with Kiki Cutie, see what happens with Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb if they're still there in 2021. It's going to be a very interesting thing with the Houston Texans, but that's where I see them going, in that direction, with Jordan Love to the Houston Texans at number 40. All right. So if you watch the show and you know me, I'm the founder and CEO and everything of Inside the Arena. We cover arena football. We tried to get to the National Lacrosse League and a Major Arena Soccer League. We got some covers there. And we still got more stuff coming, but mainly our big thing is arena football. It has been since 2016, so we're on 4 years now. Thank you, by the way, for all those that support us and check us out every day. Me and a few of my guys from Inside the Arena, Derek Dean, Quint Smalls, you guys know who you are. We were talking about, because they're Jaguars fans, and we were talking about, the Jaguars are such a mess, and what are they going to do, and this and that. And we got to thinking, we got to talking about things. And here's something you might have realized, that out of the 7 quarterbacks, I only talks about 6 of them. That's because the 7th is Jalen Hurts, and there are just 2 teams, I think, where Jalen Hurts could wind up and potentially be a starting quarterback. And it's very interesting to think about. So let's start with this. Jalen Hurts to the Jaguars. Imagine this. And we talked about this again. Me and my Inside the Arena guys talked about this. Jalen Hurts to the Jaguars would be interesting because, 1, we don't know anything about Gardner Minshew. He won a few games in Jacksonville, and now he's the starting quarterback. That's a fool's gold type of deal right there for the Jaguars and their fans and the front office and everybody in down there. Besides, Doug Marone's on the hot seat. I think anybody can dispute that. They don't make the playoffs this year. Doug Marone's out the door. And we'll see what happens from there. But here's the interesting thing. So we thought about this. What if the Jaguars go ahead and sign Matt Moore to be their backup? And they draft Jalen Hurts to be the 3rd string. And it's kind of like what happened with the Rams 2016, 2017, where they had Jared Goff, 3rd string, wound up being a starter. Do you imagine that happening in Jacksonville? It makes sense. So you'll have Gardner Minshew your starter, Matt Moore your backup, and Jalen Hurts will be your 3rd string. Now, could you just imagine Jalen Hurts beating out Matt Moore? I think that could happen as a backup. And then Gardner Minshew struggles, and everybody sees what fool's gold is, kind of like with some other quarterbacks that I won't mention. But you just imagine, like, Gardner Minshew struggles, and here comes Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts can do something well there. I mean, I don't know much about Jaguars' O-line or anything like that, but yeah, that would be very interesting to see Jalen Hurts go ahead and start for the Jaguars. I think he can win up some games. I still think Houston win the South because the Jaguars are just a mess. Biggest mess in the AFC South, probably maybe in the AFC, but Jalen Hurts. Just imagine Jalen Hurts starting in Jacksonville. Again, very interesting. We had talked about that. That would be something that could happen. And the other team, I said two teams. One would be the Jaguars. The other would be the Rams. And again, we've seen this with the Rams. You know, they draft a guy and then Jared Goff, starter, whatever. I've been saying this for such a long time. Jared Goff is not a franchise quarterback. And then last week I even said it, that they wasted $134 million on this kid just because he threw 6 touchdowns against Air Force. And that's the only reason he won first overall 2016 draft. It didn't make any sense to me then. It don't make sense to me now. The Rams went to the Super Bowl because of a no call and no interception and a few other reasons, and then they blew it. That was probably the worst Super Bowl by any team to ever play in the big game. And then the next year they give Jared Goff a 4-year deal. What a mess. And by the way, if they did draft Jalen Hurts, the only guy he would have to be out is a guy named John Wolford. Yeah, I thought Sean Mannion was still in LA. He's not. He's with the Vikings. John Wolford. It sounds like a college that I didn't go to, but a college that I've heard of. That's what it sounds like to me. It doesn't even sound like a backup quarterback. So Jalen Hurts would ultimately beat out John Wolford. I have no doubt about that, and nobody should have a doubt about that. And then all you have to do is have Goff, and I said this a few weeks ago, Goff's going to struggle this year, and then you would have, again, Jalen Hurts would be a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he would do well. They did lose a lot of their talent, but they still have a lot of talent on that team, regardless. So, again, another interesting place would be the Rams, especially with how the NFC West is. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo took the Niners to the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks are the Seahawks. And Arizona just got DeAndre Hopkins, so Kyler Murray now has like 6 weapons to throw to, and they have a pretty good defense as well. So, just think about it, you know, Jaguars, Rams, Jalen Hurts, you know, your starting quarterbacks are not real starting quarterbacks, you know, kind of a mess there. Just think about it. Really interesting to see. Jalen Hurts, I think either way, he should be a starting quarterback, maybe not a franchise quarterback, but he should definitely be a starting quarterback. We'll see what happens. The NFL draft is, at this time, just 13 days away. Next week, we'll have a big mock draft. It's going to be awesome. That's going to do it for us here in this episode of the SEU Show. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on